Hey Stag fans, welcome to another edition of From the Director's Chair alongside Paul Schlickman, the Athletics Director here at Fairfield University. I'm JJ Duke. We're heading into the real grind of the transition season, the crossover season between winter and spring sports, so we have a lot to get to. Let's just get right into it. Spring sports, baseball, softball, golf, all heading down to points south and west of here, but it's always nice when you hear the ball hitting the bat and trying to at least put the sandwich close to the green, right?
Yeah, it's always nice. When you look out at this beautiful sunny day we have, it's hard to believe that spring break is still a couple weeks away, but they're already in full swing, no pun intended, but baseball's had their first southern trip down to Georgia. Softball had a good southern swing, had a win over an ACC team, which was terrific, and obviously the lacrosses are 3-4 games in, so we're off and running.
Absolutely. Baseball making a trip down to the Daytona Beach area. They're going to go into Georgia back quickly and then finish up in Jacksonville before heading back up north. And softball, as you said, a win over Georgia Tech, beat LaSalle. They're going to head out west to Loyola Marymount and take on a few other teams. And then you mentioned lacrosse. Women's team off to a good start, a couple of victories, Holy Cross and Hofstra. The men have a couple of marquee home games coming up as well with Yale and Stony Brook. Talk a little bit about that and the expectations heading into those games.
Yeah, well, women's lacrosse had a great win, overtime win on the road at Hofstra, which is always a good win to get, traditionally a good opponent. And it's good to see them on the other side of that and get one in the left column, because they had a real close one against UConn. So they had a couple one-goal games close right back to back. So it was fun to see them kind of right that ship there. I know they're playing a lot of freshmen. They've got, people evolving. And men's lacrosse coming up on a really nice home stretch, 6 in a row. So hopefully we can kind of get some momentum going and enjoy that homestand and get them in the flow leading into some really good, high-quality non-conference opponents, which we'll have right here, but also getting into league play.
Absolutely. And remember, check out all the schedules coming up for the spring season. Go to fairfieldstags.com and also get your Lax Pass as well, because plenty of home games coming up. Head back into the winter scene a little bit, but we start not in the frozen tundra, but in the pool. Most notably, they had this slogan of win the MAC. Well, women's swimming and diving, they won the MAC.
They won it. They backed it up. What an amazing season for them. So thrilled for them, so proud of them. Coach Bruno and his staff have done a terrific job of just kind of infusing positive energy and a renewed culture and a renewed commitment, and they really responded to him. And the culture of that team has been terrific all year. I was able to go up there the Friday of the championship, and it was great to see them having just a lot of fun competing and really getting after it. And we had a freshman who was the swimmer of the meet, the rookie of the meet. Coach Bruno was coach of the year. And above all else, team championship, great effort by women's swimming. And the best part is the only senior we have is a diver. So we literally have everybody back. So hopefully the future's bright for our women's swim program. Really excited about them and the success they had.
Absolutely, and also the swimmer of the meet as well as the rookie of the week was Sarah Ostenson, who won a couple of big events and also anchored the relay that brought it home. So as you said, the platform is there. Now it only just continues to rise. But on the other side of the platform, now we head on to the hardwood. Big weekend coming up in the Capital Region, as basketball will be heading up to the MAC championships. The men will be playing in the first round. The women will be getting the bye straight to the quarterfinals. We'll start with the men first. They play Marist on Thursday evening, which is going to be a 9 o'clock scheduled start time. It's going to be a tough one for them because those two teams, they split the regular season. Tight one, went to overtime up in Poughkeepsie, a loss for Fairfield, but they got a win back at home. That run really could go either way.
So I think the vibe's good going into the tournament, and for a number of reasons. First of all, we had a really good second half of the MAC round robin play. So we go 7-2. I think some things started to click, some things started to come together. Tyler Nelson obviously playing at a high level throughout the season, but certainly, turned his game into high gear, and some of the younger guys really started to step up and really embrace their roles and contribute in key areas and key games, and they started to win some of those closer games that maybe we were having a hard time getting over the hump with. So I think they're going in on a good note. I think they controlled what they can control heading into it, and hopefully that translates well. that'll be fun to watch. And hopefully we go in and ride that wave and get a good win, and then we can roll into Saturday and keep it going.
Speaking of Saturday, it'll be the women that will take on Ryder. That's going to be the quarterfinal in the 4-5 matchup. This is a familiar spot for Coach Frager's team. Get into the quarterfinals, have an opportunity to make some noise, but a tough team that they're going to be playing because Ryder made it to the final last year.
You know, it's interesting. I remember one of the very first conversations I had. I think it was the first conversation I had with Coach when I got here. I said, "What do you project? What do you think with your team?" And knowing that he had, a younger group really who were going to get a lot of minutes. He said, "Well, I think we can maybe get into the 4 spot." Well, sure enough, here we are a few months later, and we're in the 4 spot. And again, I think they finished on a good note the other day, and I think they're in a good spot psychologically as well. And some younger players who have evolved well and kind of stepped into their roles. And the nice thing that was really a hallmark of the weekend was, I think, the honoring of our seniors. Tyler Nelson, who I mentioned on the men's side, spectacular career, becoming the all-time leading scorer, and us having the opportunity to honor him in such grand fashion. And with Tony George, his predecessor, president, and Joe DeSantis, president. So there was a great kind of coming together of past and present. And on the women's side with Coop, she's been the stalwart for that women's program and helping them achieve that consistent level of success over the course of time. So really great to see those two finish with great senior seasons and hopefully lead them into the March Madness state of things with some good success.
Oh, absolutely. And for those who are interested in going up to the Times Union Center, there's going to be a pregame reception for the men's game, which will be on Thursday, set for 7:30. For more information, just go to fairfieldstags.com. And if you can't get up to Albany, all the games will be on the ESPN family of networks. The first games for Fairfield men and women will be on ESPN3. And now this brings us to our second segment of Ask Paul, where you, the fans at home, have an opportunity to send in your questions and learn a little bit about the insights of Fairfield University athletics. All you have to do is go to fairfieldstags.com/askpaul. Just enter in your question there. So we got a couple here for you. We talked about the winter season.
Yep.
One of the big sports that's really caught a lot of attention over the last decade or so has been college hockey. It's a sport that generates a lot of excitement on campus. Fairfield University at one point did have a men's Division I program. There are some very passionate fans out there, which comes with the territory, wondering, will the Stags see an ice hockey team again?
Well, the nice thing is, and I've said this on a number of occasions in my short tenure here, is what has become abundantly clear to me is the passion and the pride of our alumni network. And so, that comes across in a myriad of ways, and certainly it's great to see the passion and pride our alums have for our athletics program. There certainly is a faction of those who are passionate about hockey and college hockey, and so those questions have come forth about the potential for adding hockey back. I would say we don't have any concrete plans to add sports. Add additional sports of any particular kind right now. It's something that we're assessing. I think we mentioned that in a previous segment, and we'll continue to look at that. But we do have some things on tap that could hopefully fill that void that some of those passionate hockey fans have. So coming up later in the month, March 23 and 24, our name will be associated as co-host of the NCAA Hockey Regional. So that's a great event. If you're a college hockey fan, it doesn't get much better than that. We certainly anticipate we'll have some high-quality teams coming in there for that 2-day hockey fest, if you will, and most likely some high-quality opponents from the region that would be of interest to some folks. So, and as our hockey alums may or may not know, our club hockey team has incurred some recent success as well and headed into the national tournament. So there are those pockets of hockey out there for those who have that interest.
Well, if those want to go top shelf and find the Thin Mints on top of the cabinet, you just go check out the regional that'll be coming up in a few weeks' time, which will be over at the Webster Bank Arena at Harbor Yard. And folks have also wanted to know a little bit more about highlighting some of the facilities that we have here on campus. Obviously, if you take a drive to our campus. Sure. You go right up to the facility. We're obviously in the President's Suite at Rafferty Stadium. We have new looks to the baseball facility. Lessing obviously is a quality soccer field, which a lot of programs say one of the best in the region. But there's those that are looking maybe for a little bit more of the upgrades on the back end side, on the website side. Sure. Talk a little bit about that and some of the projects that are coming up.
Sure, I think it's a great point. I think it's a great suggestion, and certainly something that we want to be very cognizant of. And frankly, it's all in the name of recruiting. And from an institutional perspective, it's about putting your best foot forward and marketing yourself and selling yourself and showing the best and the brightest out there what Fairfield has to offer. Certainly we want to continue to do that on the athletics side. I can give you a personal example of how that can have such a dramatic impact. Is when I was first at the initial stages of being involved in the position here in the search process, I hadn't been on campus in 6 years. And I took a trip on my own on the way into New York City for the interview process, and I pulled onto campus, and I was wowed by how beautiful and how well branded and how appealing the campus was. And it became immediately clear to me all the good things that were happening from a construction standpoint. So the aesthetics and bricks and mortar, if you will, and projects that are going on campus-wide have a dramatic impact on folks who are visiting either for the first time or who haven't visited in a while. And for those who can't necessarily get to campus, we need to make sure that the manner in which we display our facilities, institutionally and athletically, is of top-notch caliber. And so we're going to work with our marketing staff and our team here in athletics to try and upgrade and do some more visible 360 view type things with our facilities. And you're right, we have a great infrastructure. We're sitting in the suite of Rafferty Stadium, which is one of our most prized assets and one of our most recruitable assets. We got a new baseball stadium. We've got some terrific things in place for a mid-major program of our level, and so we need to showcase that. And so it's a great suggestion, and we've got some things in the works to try and maximize that, just as we're doing across campus. And the two words that I'm keeping in my head are certainly, and a phrase that I'm keeping in my head as we do these types of projects to try and increase our exposure and increase the attention that we get from students who want to be part of this great place, is the tagline that Dr. Nemec continues to reinforce as part of his vision for the institution, and that's to be the premier modern Catholic Jesuit institution. And so everything we do needs to keep those principles in mind, and certainly this is one initiative that will fall in line with that.
Well, fans, make sure to stay tuned to FairfieldStags.com for more developments on that front. And make sure, again, to get in your questions for next segment that we have from the director's chair, just go to FairfieldStags.com/AskPaul. And quickly, you mentioned something that's very important. You talked about the passion that our alumni base has for this program and for the university. Well, coming up in a couple of weeks, in fact, on March 20th will be Stag Giving Day, which is an opportunity for all the varsity programs to come together, and this is their time to raise money to help continue the success of what each program has brought to the table. Talk a little bit about that and why it's so important for this community.
Sure. Well, I'm excited to have it come around because it's obviously my first one. But I had heard a lot about it when I was going through the process, and I know it's been a very successful venture for the institution. So it is a fundraising initiative. So there's an obvious financial impact and benefit and impetus for it. However, it's also Stag Giving Day is also about trying to tap into that pride that our alumni base has, and it's about participation, and it's about trying to continue to foster and enhance a culture of giving, and raise that level of awareness and raise that level of participation, because all the most successful, powerful institutions across America that really engender that are the ones that have that really high rate of alumni participation. So that's what we're trying to foster. From an athletic standpoint, it's been very beneficial to us to try and generate some resources for our programs, and so we're grateful for that, and we're working hard to make sure we have a successful one this time around. But it's also a great vehicle for us, in that same vein, to engage and reach out to and get particularly our younger alum group involved in the process.
All right, we'll stay tuned for more information on that, as well as again Thanksgiving Day coming up on March 20th. Paul, that's going to do it. Thanks for taking some time.
It's great to see you as always.
Absolutely, and we'll look forward to the next episode of From the Director's Chair.
Okay.